This is Mark Harrison, and I want to welcome you to video 3, Actions Grow and Preserve Wealth. I cover what can limit and prevent actions on the risk and opportunities that will determine your success in growing and preserving wealth. To review what we learned, video number 1, Winning Wealth, was a preview of what you were going to learn and a kind of outline of things to come. Video 2, Why Are So Few Wealthy? Went into the detail of why it's worth your time, what's in it for you, how it works, how to take action on it, the evidence, who's winning, why, what the stakes are. I detailed the risks to control, the opportunities to take advantage of, gave you experts, the details of studies, IRS codes, books, media, TV, the backup, what we're talking about, my credentials, and a little about what it's done for me. But let's dive in a little deeper. You will continually play financial games. You compete daily for limited resources to maintain life and to prosper it. Correct action determines success, and to the victor goes the spoils. Behavior can limit success by not acting correctly to the risk and opportunity. What behaviors can limit success? Misperception, fear, procrastination, loss of control, and bad advice. And let's dive a little deeper into each of these. Your misperceptions, like not taking competition seriously or being unaware, can affect taking action. Life will still happen. Inaction leaves you at the mercy of your competition for those limited resources. They're trying to win, representing their interests. Don't be naive. You have to compete to win. Even animals do it to survive and thrive. Fear. Fear is a huge limitation, and people use it to control you and win. You must act despite of fear, on the mathematically efficient answer that controls the risk and the opportunities in your favor. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. That was Franklin Roosevelt. For God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of sound mind. That's 2 Timothy 1:7, the Bible. Procrastination is another limitation. Until you act on the risk and opportunity, you've done nothing to win. Act immediately on the best option. Later, if need be, you can fine-tune after it's covered, again if it's needed. Inaction or delayed action is at a weaker position, even for a possible loss. Example would be, it's like finding the best fire insurance for your home after it's already burned down. Loss of control is another limitation. Giving up control because of someone's greater expertise is a dangerous excuse. Use people that are highly skilled at their craft to help you, but always maintain control. Just ask Bernie Madoff, who made off with the wealth of many well-intentioned people. Trust but verify. If you give up control of your wealth, you give up control of your outcome. Saying that you have an advisor, agent, or attorney when someone asks how you're getting ahead is a huge sign that you've given up that control. The top 1% have the best winning track record, and they use experts, to advise and execute their plans, but they don't give up control. I mean, who tells Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, or Elon Musk how to be successful? They live daily, taking deliberate action to control those risks and opportunities in their favor. Bad advice can also prevent your success. You know the saying, the road to ruin was paved by good intentions. People act in their own best interest. Even the experts Dave Ramsey, Robert Kiyosaki, Peter Lynch, Susie Orman, Warren Buffett have given great advice, but should only be used for general direction, never for specific decisions that could affect your success. Every situation is different, affected by circumstance. Politicians make decisions that don't reflect situational details. A current example of Afghanistan, where current administration's decisions did not fit the boots on the ground. Visualize the risk and the opportunity in your situation, and you should be able to picture how the answer will affect how you'll win. Let's put all this together in context to the risk and opportunities. It's practical that risk exists. Visualize how each can adversely affect wealth and think of it logically. The best monetary decision is always mathematically sound. More wealth is better than less wealth. Perception, fear, procrastination, bad advice doesn't change physical reality. It isn't mathematically sound. Example, auto insurance, home insurance, health insurance isn't less needed because a loss hasn't happened yet. Action on the solution isn't wasted action until something happens, because it will happen eventually. Acting afterwards always costs more. Fear is normal, but action despite it is the only way to have a positive outcome. Procrastination just delays acting how you should have done earlier, which is never good. Loss of control can seem legitimate, but always leads to a bad outcome. If you lose control of the risk or the opportunity, you lose control of your outcome, which is never in your best interest. Advice doesn't lead to the best possible outcome because it generalizes something that is dramatically affected by situational factors. It's always a roll of the dice. It should only be used in situations where there's lack of any other direction. A directed plan will always outperform advice long term because of evolving circumstance. In summary, if none of these factors help you provide for the risk and opportunity, then they must be avoided at all costs. Without a mathematically sound plan solving the risk and opportunity, there is no logical way of predicting and controlling the outcome that is exactly opposite of the correct action. The reason the top 1% consistently win isn't luck, but planning for the risk and opportunity, then consistent action to win. It isn't rocket science, just acting on the math. If you shop, you see what you need, you find it at the price you can afford, and then you act. Don't do that for your risk and opportunity. The good life doesn't magically show up at your doorstep. You have to plan, act, and then get back to what you do best to make it happen. Diving into the risk, you know the saying, the only guarantee is death and taxes. So let's look at Uncle Sam. Let's review the risk and the reward, starting off with taxes. You can't ignore Uncle Sam or partner with him in your attempt to grow wealth. The highest historic tax rate was 94%. 90% of history, taxes have been higher than they are now. U.S. debt to GDP is the highest ever. Total debt, liabilities, and derivatives, highest ever. 4.4 times greater than all the assets that the U.S. has combined. Biden pledges to double the debt. So what are the odds? Are taxes going up? No doubt. They probably are going up. The question is how high and how soon. So if the overwhelming likelihood is that taxes are going up in the future and we don't know how high and how soon, doesn't it just make sense to grow your money tax deferred, have access to your money tax free at any time with no penalties? Doesn't it just make sense so that you can have cash flow while minimizing tax risk? So let's look at the confirmation of what I'm telling you about taxes. Here's the proof from one of the top experts in the country, Ed Slott, and the source of who's going to tax you, the IRS. Ed Slott, named by some of the top news organizations in the country as one of the top experts in the country. And here's a direct quote: the single biggest benefit in the U.S. tax code. All right, let's look over the IRS in section 7702. Taxation on interest is deferred. Income tax measurement rules cause interest credited to escape taxation. So no tax. Directly from the source and one of the greatest experts confirming that. Now let's look at market risk and what the factors that are going to affect that market risk. One of the big ones is interest rates. As you know, since the early 80s, Fed interest rates have been going down from the high of 20% to currently 0.08. So we reach rock bottom. There's virtually nowhere else for them to go but up. And the likelihood of this happening is going to be multi-year, just like it was since the 80s up to this point, as they've been going down. And also look at inflation, as we've been seeing signs of costs going up. All these things have to do with debt loads, consumer debt load, what the cost of things that are going up. And obviously, all of this will have an inverse effect on stocks and bonds. The obvious answer to market loss is to never lose your money. Go up with the market, but never down. The graph to the right, the blue at the bottom, shows the amount of loss. The green at the top is the amount of gain you would need just to get back to where you were. So obviously, the higher the loss, the much greater momentum you got against you just to get back to where you were. Off to the left, you got historic market losses, and the amount it would take just to get back to where you were, going anywhere from 56% all the way up to 800% just to get back to where you were. So the idea here is, if you don't lose your money, don't lose your principal, you can go up with the market, you don't have to go down. You probably recognize this person. This is Warren Buffett, the greatest investor in world history. And he's got 2 rules of investing. Number 1, never lose money. Rule number 2, don't ever forget rule number 1. So he knows a little bit about making money and keeping money, and he has a very sound advice. At the top, you see the decades of losses, where investors would have taken 10 years plus of losses. From 29 to 38, 65 to 79, 2000 to 2009. With the S&P pre-crash alone in 1929, investors would have taken 55 years to recover, to get back to where they were. So again, follow the greatest investor in world history, his advice: don't lose your money. Now, critical and chronic care, not gambling with your future. 3 out of 4, 75%, will experience a critical illness, which is a cause or contributor of most mortgage foreclosures, business failures, or bankruptcies, and a loss of over 50% of your worth. Even though 75% of those folks had health insurance, so that wasn't the full answer. One of the other greatest benefits of the plan is that you have that protection. Your plan is self-completing. Almost all other ways of growing wealth, if something happens to you, your family only gets the value of your plan at the time that it happens, minus expenses, costs, taxes, etc. Here, your family's goals are met. Even if you die, your family crosses the finish line, so they reach that target immediately. If disabled, you also have a plan for that. Another option of this plan is to get your kids a debt-free college degree, so they're not another statistic. A 4-year degree now costs more than the average home, and it's supposed to double by 2026. Also, that 4-year degree on average takes 6 years, and it takes on average 10 years to pay off that debt. So you avoid all of that. We covered the risks to your wealth and the opportunities to grow further wealth, and the things that can stop you from acting, the misconceptions, fear, procrastination, loss of control, bad advice. But you have to have a simple plan to be able to cover those risks, to have cash accumulation and growth without interrupting interest, and go up with the market, never down with the market. Grow tax deferred and access your money without tax. The critical and chronic care that can take over half your money, and its biggest contributor are foreclosures, bankruptcies, and business failures. Disability, death, outliving your money. Things that can cause, bad debt, medical expenses, legal costs, college debt, etc. But you have to have a simple plan to be able to take action, to accumulate that cash, to not interrupt compound interest, and have further cash flow to take advantage of those opportunities, and be able to maintain those opportunities and maximize the opportunity in those while maintaining the cash flow to support them. So how do you do that? So great. What is it? Understand up to this point we established what it does and obviously the need there, but the idea here is to find a tool that most cost effectively completes the task we're trying to do the most effectively. So it's what the tool does that matters, not the name. Also, they say that devil's in the details. Correct. But it's not the name. Remember, we mentioned earlier about things that could affect your success. One of those is misconceptions. Don't let a misconception of what you think you've heard matter. It's what the tool does. So let's dive in. Why is this the best option? We're trying to use the most cost-effective tool to complete our task most effectively. And with Index Universal Life, we have that wealth accumulation going up with the market, never down, that cash value build up, all those protections, creating more and more liquidity so we can take advantage of opportunities to create more wealth while still having that cash liquidity so we can max them out while still having the cash to support them. Now, quoting Ed Slott here, I am a tax advisor. As a tax advisor, I'm telling you, the single biggest benefit in the U.S. tax code is the tax exemption for life insurance. It is an essential part for you and your family's financial security. Get ready to experience a lifetime of financial security beginning now. Section 7702 is trying to prevent tax dodging, basically. You have to have a legitimate life insurance contract, and it limits how quickly you can get the money in and how much. But the Index Universal Life is the best fit. There's many types of life insurance. Which is the best option? Well, with term insurance, there's death benefit only. There's no cash value building, so that won't work at all. Then there's whole life, which is considered permanent term insurance. The problem is all the terms are fixed. You don't have the flexibility to make changes in the future. And with fixed interest, you're not keeping up with current interest rates. So that's not the most efficient. Then there's universal life, which is term insurance with a cash value building account. There's more flexibility for you to be able to make changes in the future, and with it keeping up with current interest rates, there's possibility of greater cash value appreciation, but it's still not the best option. Then there's variable universal life that works like that basic universal life, but that cash value account can be in the market, so you have market risk. You can lose your money. You also have the higher cost and fees of being in the market. So we want to go up with the market, never down. You want to keep it most efficient as possible and predictable. So this doesn't meet that guideline. Then there's Index Universal Life, which is like that basic universal life, but the cash value building account can be matched to an index. For instance, Standard & Poor's index would be an example. You're not in the market, so you don't have the market risk. You never can lose your money. You can go up with the market, never down, and you also don't have any of the costs related because you're not in the market. Now we know the right type, that Index Universal Life, and remember the goal of the IRS 7702 is we're trying to get in as much of our cash through our payments into the policy as quickly as possible without violating the rules so that it would cause taxation, creating as much cash value in the policy as quickly as the law allows. As we're doing so, the Index Universal Life is becoming over time more and more efficient, as that difference between the cash value building account and that death benefit, that corridor gap between the two becomes closer and closer. Understand that the insurance company with the Index Universal Life is only charging you the amount for the death benefit, which is above your cash value buildup. So as that corridor or that gap between the two becomes tighter, we're meeting our goal more efficiently. So we're using as much cash with as little death benefit as possible, which sounds counterintuitive, an insurance agent telling you to have as little death benefit or life insurance as possible. But here our goal is wealth accumulation. So we want as much cash value build up with all those protections, creating more and more future liquidity and wealth building without accumulating cash compounding at no risk, going up with the market, never down, so that we're creating more and more cash equity, which we can use to take advantage of those other wealth building options while maintaining that cash liquidity for them so we can ensure they grow to their max potential without that cash flow risk that we need to keep up that momentum. That combination, essentially interest on our cash equity, using our cash tax-free at lower interest while we're compounding at higher interest at no risk. That accumulation, that difference between the two is what we call arbitrage, which we'll cover in the future. It's like having our cake and eating it too, to use a metaphor. Let's recap what we accomplished with the Index Universal Life. We control the risk while maximizing our opportunities. We grow tax deferred, accessing our money without tax. Go up with the market, never down. critical care and chronic care options, which are the greatest cause of business failures, foreclosures, and bankruptcies, taking over half our money. So we got that covered. Disability options, coverage for living too long so we don't run out of money, dying too soon. So if we don't make it, our family crosses the finish line. We have an option of the debt-free college degrees, increased future cash flow options, and the hidden gem, that arbitrage, using an asset in order to take advantage of the different prices of that same asset. So by preferred loans, we're allowed to access our cash without tax at lower interest rates while we're earning higher interest rates on that same asset. So we're able to take advantage of both ends, the equity on our asset and the possible asset appreciation. So you can have your cake and eat it too. Now I'm going to give you a real life example of arbitrage. Now this example of me, this is what I did for myself. One example here. I was earning at a higher interest rate. I accessed my money at a lower interest rate, both without tax. I had the cash liquidity, so I was able to buy my asset well below market. In this case, there were two boats. One that I bought in March of 2003, the other March of 2018. The rate to the left is a rate that I borrowed from my plan at, and the rate to the right is what I was earning during that period. And the year I sold both of them here in September of 2021, and it shows what I netted. In other words, think about this. I enjoyed those assets. One, for 18 years, the other 3.5 years. And so I was basically earning on my equity while I was also appreciating on the asset. Now they normally say, with boats, only two times you enjoy it is when you buy it, when you sell it. Well, not in this case. And the reason being is I didn't lose money on it. Now, obviously, this year is a special situation where you're able to do things you normally wouldn't be able to do. But again, this worked for me. I was in that situation where I had the cash liquidity to take advantage, buying it below market. But take this further to, let's say, a rental home, your home, college degree, retirement, where this could be used in your favor. How would it give you momentum to earn interest on essentially your equity while you're appreciating on the asset as well, so you can earn on both ends, having your cake and eat it too. Now, we touched on arbitrage earlier in the example I used of the boats I sold, but let's expand from there. The idea here is we're earning at a higher interest rate. We're accessing our cash at lower interest rate. We have a positive arbitrage where it's very low risk because it's on our cash. Our cash is backing this up, but instead of pulling cash out, and in other words, not earning interest on it, we're able to loan ourselves that and earn that positive arbitrage. So we're able to earn on our equity as well as possibility of appreciating asset. Now, we've actually used this on rental properties, foreclosures. We had that immediate liquidity where you can take advantage of buying things below market, which is the idea: buy low, sell high. So even on appreciating assets, if you get them below market, you've got more of that margin. But especially with depreciating assets, that picture of that boat right there is the same model, similar year, and same color. So I was able to appreciate, have now an appreciating asset, which was normally a depreciating asset. I sold it for more than I paid for it, and I earned interest on it. And expand that to all these other opportunities, whether it's your college degree, you've got a rental, a home, a boat, a truck, gold, precious gems, whatever opportunity it is, add to a business or starting a business. Surprises, a child, wedding, a charitable contribution, or whatever the immediate need, or let's say you've got a big chunk of a tax that's due, is you have that cash liquidity. You're using your cash at a low interest rate while you're earning at a higher interest rate without affecting your cash flow, and that your cash is not trapped in an asset. Because a lot of people say, well, I'm paying down that asset, I have equity. Well, you're not, and most of the times you're not like paying off a home loan. You're not earning anything on that equity. And I say, well, my asset is, the house is appreciating. Well, so is mine, but I'm earning on my equity as well, so I can earn on both ends. So I have my cake and eat it too. and while maintaining that cash flow where, again, I'm buying low, selling high, and I have the liquidity, immediate cash flow to take advantage of the situations because of that arbitrage and the access that the index universal life is giving me. It's very powerful. This gives you a good idea of some of that possibility. No man is promised tomorrow. You got to seize the day. So timing is everything. You've got to start from where you can right now. How much per month you can set aside, building that cash liquidity, buying low, selling high, earning high, borrowing low, that positive arbitrage. But start where you can right now. Mentioned earlier that quote from Einstein: the most powerful force in the universe is compound interest. Those who understand it earn it, those who don't pay it. The idea is if interest is working in your favor, it's a powerful force. If it's working against you, it's a powerful force against you. You've also got to protect against those things that are going to take away your wealth, those risks. You've got to be able to take advantage of opportunities as they come along and start today. Procrastination does not work in your favor when it comes to wealth. The sooner you start, the easier it is. You know, it took time when you bought a home to build that equity. And we mentioned earlier with Section 7702, it takes time to get that cash in your index universal life. But you have to start today. And the sooner you do, the more things will start stacking up in your favor, that you'll avoid those things that are taking your wealth, that you're able to take advantage of those opportunities that will help increase your wealth, and you keep building up cash liquidity, which is always going to be in your favor in building and being able to grab opportunities to increase that wealth in the future. Timing is everything. Start now. How much per month can you set aside to start building your future, start assuring your wealth? I want to thank you for your time. I think it's been time well spent. I would ask you to consider clicking the like button, subscribing. It won't cost you anything ever. Consider sending this video or a link to it to a friend or anyone that you would like to help. But reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to help you. It costs nothing to get a plan put together to be able to show you how this can help, to get into the details. But you have to start somewhere. You have to increase that liquidity, provide that protection for the things that are going to work against you, and have the cash to be able to take advantage of those opportunities and build a foundation for your wealth. And the IUL, the Index Universal Life, is an excellent way. It's one of the most cost-effective tools to do that and have all those protections. And I would love to help you. Reach out to me, and I want to thank you for your time, and God bless.